So as we move into the month of July, Joe Biden is still dealing with the negative effects of his recent debate performance, and as a result, the media, quite a few Democratic members of Congress, as well as donors, are being hard on him and asking or even demanding that he leave the race because they don't believe he's up to it. Joe has said no, he's not going to do that, and he continues to assert strongly that he's staying in the race no matter what. Now the question is, what is likely to happen here? And this is where we compare the charts. And to my mind, without yet having access to the missing chart, which would be whoever the orange cockroach chooses to be his running mate, we currently have this guy, this degenerate. We have our current president, and then we have Kamala, his running mate, and we also should check in on the chart of the country, which is this one. So if we look at Biden's, the first thing to say is the debate performance is best and most clearly explained through the Saturn station the end of June, you can see it right there, early July, which is right on his midheaven axis, midheaven IC axis, which, especially at his age, is more likely to show up as the kind of problem that he experienced and that we were all confronted with, namely low energy, as well as being sick, and in essence, the kind of performance that is worrisome, or was worrisome. However, it's also true that this Saturn now is retrograding away from that point, and it's slow in doing so because stations bring the planet to a stop, and so in all of July it's still in the 19-degree range, but as we move into August it separates from those degrees more and more, meaning this perception is going to change. No question about it. In fact, we can refer to previous parts of the cycle here, where if we look at last year, pretty much the whole year and into the spring of this year, the Saturn was over here in the early part of Pisces, squaring his ascendant, and so this talk of his age and his infirmity and so on is a constant background hum, sometimes more in the foreground. But in the spring, as it separated from those degrees and was not yet at the degrees in late June, he was totally fine. In fact, in the State of the Union, the presentation was in a lot of ways the total opposite. The problem was that as we get into June, and especially mid-June, it gets close to this angle, and so hence the problem happened. But it will back off again, and what happens here is in the November region, you see Saturn there at 12, close to 13. That's actually a place that is very good for Biden, because from there, it trines his Mars over here and is not landing in conjunction with anything, so it's perfectly fine as far as that. And furthermore, the Neptune continues to be near the same place, whether it's now or at election time, meaning trines his late Scorpio planets, which actually also accounts for the fact that we're noticing that the effect of this bad debate has not had a catastrophic effect on his numbers. Though, of course, the counterpoint to that would be to say that his numbers need to improve, and this is what perhaps has alarmed people. But nevertheless, the Neptune is in a good place, and Jupiter at that time, meaning in November, and now in both cases it's in Gemini over here. You could say that's a neither here nor there position in his chart for the most part. However, what we do have to say is that the Uranus-Pluto cycles are definitely anything from problematic to extremely challenging, in that the Pluto going through early Aquarius like it is, you see it in here, so that it'll switch in September into late Capricorn. In the early Aquarius degrees, it squares his moon, and that's his 6th sign, thereby involving health. And the same thing is true of the Uranus over here in Taurus, opposing this area of the chart. And so the problem is that as we go toward August, and in particular the time of the convention, here I'm showing the 19th, but it's actually 19th to the 22nd, that's when Uranus is exactly stationing, because the station's in early September, so basically mid-August to mid-September, Uranus is stationary opposite the Sun. And this is the kind of thing that brings in a very, very definite uncertainty principle. In that if I'm looking at Joe's chart, then I cannot say until at least September, mid-September to be safe, that he's going to get all the way to November and continue to be the nominee. That's the big question mark right now. And one of the reasons I say that is that this part of the zodiac where Uranus is also 27 degrees. That also triggers the USA moon at 27 from Taurus. So you put it over here and you square that moon. this is suggestive of something big that the whole country is tuning into, which being Uranus tends to have the feeling of something unexpected, shocking, that has people wired in and surprised, etc. And so this is what's happening in his chart. And it is also happening in Kamala's chart because Kamala has Saturn there in the 28th degree of Aquarius. And so we put it over here in Taurus, the Uranus squaring in that direction. So it links both of them in that way at the convention. Now, here's the thing. Uranus being the unexpected showing up, perhaps you could make the story that the unexpected is that they show up together against all odds, because right now people are worried that that won't happen, that the whole thing may fall apart. And so then the Uranus cycle manifests as everything is good, there's excitement, the country sees a great ticket, and we move forward from there. Great, that's possible. Do I think it's likely? No. I think there is something coming up here that may shake things up in some way, right? And therefore, you could then say, well, what if? What if it turns out that Joe is not able to continue? For example, let's say that something related to his health does show up and he has to stop running for some reason. Well, then logically it would have to be Kamala because she's the VP, and also because the constraints of campaigns at this stage make it extremely difficult to switch gears in a bigger way, even though people talk about such ideas as though they are a flip of the switch and we're there. Apparently this is not true. It's very, very difficult to do. So the logical thing would be that it would be Kamala. So, but here's the thing. You also compare the scenario to say, all right, so we have Joe, we have Kamala, and we have the Orange Menace. And so then who has the best situation? Well, let me put it this way. If Joe can get through to November so that he's alive in November and he's present to be the contender against the serial liar, then Joe's chart is better than Trump's chart. And I would pick Joe to win. No doubt about it. But if it is Kamala versus this guy, then Kamala's chart is also better and she will defeat him. So he's going to be defeated either way. That's how I call it, with the big caveat, which is, to be honest, I don't know what this is in late August. I don't know what it is, because you can guess, and yet this is the way Uranian energy works. You have to remain open to something unexpected, something that, as I say, shocks and can disturb. There's no question, right? The other thing is that this guy is also prone to similar shocks, similar unexpected situations, in that for him, the Uranus is up here in this part of the chart and it's squaring his Mars. And one of the reasons why I am so confident he cannot win is the way this planet has behaved in prior cycles. For example, in 2020, it was back here in early Taurus, squaring Pluto. These planets here, Pluto and Mars, are his forward action planets. It's what he wants to do. It's his action plan, what he's going to make real in his life, what he's going to bring into the world, so to speak. It's his personality, the Leo rising with Pluto and Mars there. Well, Pluto being squared by Uranus, it stopped him. It stopped him in his tracks. He lost. I mean, he says he won, but he lost. He's a loser and a liar. He lost. Well, now it's further along on his MC squaring Mars. Well, Mars is in a way very similar to Pluto. Both are desired planets. I want to make this happen. Uranus squaring Mars is going to stop him again. Plain and simple, right? Not only that, Uranus being Uranus, the force of the unexpected, the force of the shocking energy of the universe, it can shock him out of his pattern as well, in a way that he's not expecting. It's present the whole time. What it's doing is squaring the Mars, getting close to squaring the ascendant, and so on. And this is not an easy planet for him. It's a major problem planet because at birth, Uranus is not in a great place next to his sun. It's too close to the sun, but it opposes the moon. Opposing the moon, it opposes the planet that is in the fifth sign, which is the place of contests and elections. This planet is always going to be a problem in that sense, not an asset. So bottom line, in terms of the ultimate outcome, whichever way you spin this, as long as you are talking about these three individuals, the Orange Menace, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, then the outcome is either a victory for Joe or a victory for Kamala. I said earlier about the person that is missing in terms of the VP. I highly doubt that that's going to make any difference, though I'll certainly take a look at his or her chart when the name becomes known.